Welcome to Amazon Legends, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became power sellers, also providers specializing in helping sellers, aggregators that acquire sellers, and former Amazonians will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here is your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. I am so happy to have my next guest because we've had, I lost count, maybe 4 or 5 members of his company, all of whom I loved the conversation. We had like instant chemistry and very knowledgeable. And I've been asking, why isn't he coming on the show? And so finally he managed to find some time and make an appearance here. He's the best-selling author with his book, Amazon Selling Tips. And he started his career, believe it or not, as a TV reporter in Idaho. And then he became an e-commerce director for 10 years, working with brands ranging from gold and silver coins to women's plus-size clothing. Today, he's the founder of My Amazon Guy. And when he's not working with his 5 kids, he likes traveling, and he's very much involved. He's a man of faith, very much involved with his church, and he has a goal that he's going to become a billionaire. and I'm going to be counting the days. And with that, everybody, meet my guest, Stephen Pope. Welcome to the show,
Hey.
Stephen.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I love being a legend with you. That's great.
I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to listen, but my very first episode, I talked about why I call this Amazon Legends. And it's because anybody who survives the Amazon...
Yeah. You're a legend at that point. Yes.
I mean, but when I say survive, I am not talking about business. I'm talking about emotional, mental, intellectual, financial.
That's why every Amazon seller needs grit and tenacity for breakfast.
That's exactly it. So that's why I thought, because I've been there myself, almost 10 years, just under 10 years being a seller. You wake up one morning and, as a small business, you're running payroll to payroll, generating cash. And when you sell on Amazon, most of your cash flow relies on Amazon. And suddenly you see that Amazon pulled the plug. And now you have to deal with it. I mean, that's the worst feeling. And then you are supposed to sit down and think intellectually with all those pressures.
A lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. So in my book, anybody who makes it on Amazon is a legend, and they deserve a podcast to be talked about. So
I think it's a good concept. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So Stephen, what we're going to talk about today, and if there is anyone who can really give us straight, from the fire hose, so to speak, is you, about, as we record this, middle of 2024, and FBA fees are rising, competition is increasing, and inflation obviously is where it is. So how does a brand launch on Amazon and be successful? Give us the formula for success for somebody to go from now. Keep in mind, this is the criteria, because a lot of sellers, a lot of entrepreneurs come up with this. We're talking about a brand new seller that has not existed before on Amazon. They're going to create an account from scratch. A brand new brand, so to speak.
So it's private label. Got it.
They just registered with USPTO, and I should say applied, got their serial number, and got on brand registry.
Yep. You can get that trademark 7 days later, file brand registry with you so far.
Yeah. Nobody knows the brand yet, though. And therefore, brand new listing.
Okay. Let's do this.
So that's your challenge. let's make this seller successful. Walk us through.
So the good news is that the things that worked 6 years ago still work today, as long as you stick to the basics, right? Everything that we do on Amazon is to do one of two things. First, grow traffic, and second, improve conversion rates. So if it does one of those two things, it's probably worth doing. And the question becomes, how do we break that down? So under traffic, we have PPC and SEO. Anything that drives traffic, either you're going to be paying for that click or you're going to earn the click. On the conversion side, we have design, which a lot of people get aesthetically correct, but they don't embed the SEO. So we can talk about that. And then finally, under conversion is all the catalog troubles that most people have. We'll pepper in a few commandments like never go out of stock, because that's the most important commandment of Amazon. The second commandment's very much like the first, no, seriously, never go out of stock. And so if you do these basics and never go out of stock, you have a shot. And so during this process, though, I do like to point one thing out, and that is nobody cares what your brand is. And I'll prove this by asking Nick this question. Nick, what was the last item you bought on Amazon?
Last time I bought on Amazon is last week.
And what was it?
It was some cleaning material that somebody said I should get.
What was the name of the brand?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Right. And then if we really wanted to go farther, we could say, what's the name of the seller? And you'd be like, I don't know. Right. So,
no way. I don't care.
So that's proof you don't need a brand to sell on Amazon. Now, obviously, go get the trademark and the brand registry. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is you don't have to have a known brand to succeed on Amazon. Amazon is the brand killer. Amazon is a commodity marketplace. If you show up to Amazon with the lowest price and the best potential product that at least gives some sort of equation of value, chances are some consumers are going to buy it. That's where all the people are. It's where the traffic is. In the United States, something crazy like 82% of households are Prime members. So just showing up and using FBA, you have a very strong chance of succeeding. Now, having said all of that, if you show up and you don't follow the basics, you don't set up some PPC campaigns, you don't fill out A+ content, you don't even put 6 images in, let alone a video, you don't do some of those basics, you have almost no shot at succeeding. So Amazon is a level playing field. Anybody can succeed. That's why I like the concept of native-born Amazon brands, right? Like you've never heard of a Walmart-born brand that doesn't exist. Why? Because Walmart's not a marketplace. Walmart is a physical retail store with a website and happens to let some people sell their products on it. And the reason I like to specify that is because on Walmart, their search algorithm is rigged. It's rigged for retail. They put the retailer products above the native-born brands. But on Amazon, there is no such crisis. Amazon is not rigging the search algorithm for retail products. Now, you could say they're rigging it for Amazon Basics, and you'd be right to some extent, but it's not as bad. And a lot of Amazon brands were failing, right? And they're not in every vertical, whereas in Walmart, it's pretty much every vertical. So because of that, you can succeed on Amazon with a no-name brand, and you can shoestring it through, you can bootstrap it in and get the job done. So now that we've established that it's possible to do that, where do you want to go from there, Nick?
Okay, so there's a few things, when you and I have been buried in this work for a long time, certain things come natural to us. So we kind of, when we are talking about them, we mention them, but really for a new seller, it's not as obvious. So you said 2 things: grow traffic, right?
Yep.
And improve conversion. That's how you're going to be successful. That's the 2-step formula.
Basic formula. It's the equation of selling on Amazon.
Okay. So obviously that's a loaded goal, so to speak. We have to break it down. But there is one other thing that I never heard anybody say this before, like as clearly as you did, in terms of the difference between Amazon and Walmart. Walmart is in fact a retailer, and they just created their website and then turned their outlets into a distribution center. Unlike Amazon, that had to create them from scratch. So therefore, it makes perfect sense that they will always give the priority to the retailers that they are buying
They
from.
do.
So this, I mean, this makes perfect business case for Walmart not to favor
It's why
online
Walmart can't
retailers.
catch Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're trying, and but it's obviously Amazon is way ahead. Okay, and you just proved also that you can generate a lot of revenue without really being a major well-known brand. So it doesn't matter if you are an upstart and you are going up against a major brand. Who cares, right? That's what Amazon provides for you. So that's very encouraging for little guys to start.
Which is why when you launch on Amazon, it behooves you to sell at a very low price to start us out, right? And if you do that, you have a strong chance at launching and doing well, right? So on LinkedIn this morning, I made a post about how you can launch your product at 50% off. And I made a couple of reasons for why this makes sense, right? So a key to launching on Amazon is to start at a lower price. Why? Because it's a marketplace. Would you rather have a 10% conversion, or would you rather have a 4% conversion? If you launch at full price and have 0 reviews, chances are you're going to have a 4% conversion rate. Now, after you have some reviews and you got some ranking, your conversion goes up from there. An average conversion rate on Amazon is 10%. So to get above that, you need to go 50% off, and that'll get you closer to 15, 16%, depending on the category. It could be up or down from there. Now, if you run some math, almost doubling that conversion average can save you thousands of dollars on PPC. If your conversion rate is higher, your SEO rankings will go up fast. You need sales to get sales on Amazon. So if you're spending $1.50, $2 a click on PPC, and your conversion rate is 15%, you're going to convert a lot more than if you're at 10% or 4%. So increasing conversion rate allows you to maximize your traffic. And when you maximize your traffic, Amazon rewards you with more traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And that traffic then comes in and does what? It converts, right? So some circular logic here, chicken or an egg question for sure, but by and large, this one's been solved. The egg comes first, traffic. You must focus on traffic. Amazon has already solved for conversion overall. On a new product, not so much, right? So you gotta get all the basics in for converting on Amazon. You gotta have that nice looking nifty main image. You should upgrade it for click-through rate in mind, right? If you put a keyword on that main image, somebody's going to remember the keyword or more likely to click it, more likely to convert, versus your big brand name that nobody's going to remember and nobody cares about. So Amazon has destroyed branding, and it has made it for a commodity. And that means that anybody can launch and sell on the platform. So go in there, launch on Amazon with that in mind. Lower your price, spend lots of money on PPC, earn some keyword rankings, and convert as much of that traffic as you possibly can. If you do those things, you might be successful. However, if you made a Me Too product and you went to Alibaba and said, oh, I'm just going to sell the same product 80 other people are selling, why would somebody buy from you? So that leads us to some lifestyle questions. This leads us to, what is a brand? And a brand is a customer avatar compelling you to purchase. So, for example, if I was going to sell a Russian mail order bride, I would know that I'm going to be selling to 3-time divorced truck drivers. And I use that example because it's hilarious and fun to remember. And it proves a point, right? If we look at a random toothbrush and I ask, who's the customer avatar? And a lot of people are like, anybody with teeth. That's not actually true. right? There's a lot of people with teeth that this product's not for. Is this product with soft bristles? Is it with hard bristles? Is this product for somebody who's a teenager or a kid or an adult, right? Is it a tongue scraper as well? Does it have some extra features? Is the toothbrush made by a specific toothpaste brand? Will it go better with certain toothpaste? Right. And as we dive into these details and get deeper and deeper, we're not just scratching the surface with anybody with teeth, right? Because if you're trying to sell a toothbrush to anybody with teeth, what are you going to put on that Amazon page? You're going to put people with teeth and call it a day. And you'll get some sales. But if you then narrow down and say, wow, I'm going to be selling to 14-year-old girls. Now let's change it up. Let's go 5-year-old girls because I got a 5-year-old girl. So it's a little top of mind for me. If I'm going to sell a toothbrush to my 5-year-old girl, I can tell you exactly what to buy or what to sell to her. And it's a toothbrush with a unicorn on it. And then I'm going to throw in a little bit of toothpaste on the side and I'm going to make it rainbow color. Right. And then I'm going to talk about how she's a princess and I'm going to sell that toothbrush to my 5-year-old girl. And she's going to want that toothbrush. And then guess what? The adult who's buying that toothbrush is like, oh my gosh, my 5-year-old daughter, it's so hard to brush her teeth. She never listens. It's like a 10-minute fight. But if I buy this unicorn toothbrush, this ridiculous $15 toothbrush, which is 3 times more than an average toothbrush, but if I do that, maybe I'll save 10 minutes a night and it's worth it to me. Because at that point, now I'm not just selling a toothbrush to somebody with teeth. I'm selling to parents trying to solve bedtime. And all of a sudden, the customer avatar writes itself. And all of a sudden, my conversion rate just went up to 20% because I'm now very narrowly focused. In politics, a politician's job is to cast the widest net as possible. But in marketing, the opposite is true. You're supposed to narrow the tent. And this is very confusing to most people. What do you mean I'm going to push away people to market my product? Yes, because the more you push, the more you pull. When you narrow that tent, when I show up as a 37-year-old father with a 5-year-old daughter who has a struggle time getting her to brush her teeth and I see unicorn, I'm going to freaking buy that in 5 seconds. 5 seconds, I'm going to put that in my cart and make the purchase. But if I'm looking at 3,000 different toothbrushes on Amazon, they all look alike, and one's red and one's blue, you don't have a shot in Hades to try and sell me that toothbrush, especially if I bought the unicorn one already.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, there's quite a few things that you mentioned here that I want to clarify for our audience. So, first of all, let's start with the discount, because I am not in favor of heavy discounting. So I want to make sure that our listeners and our viewers understand how to handle discounting, because you can't really build a brand that has a premium value that's going to make you money by selling it dirt cheap, right? So they don't go together.
Correct. But you said launch.
Right,
So
right. That's
to
exactly.
launch, you must go at a lower price because nobody knows your product's high quality. You can't show quality on Amazon very easily. Now, in my launch strategy, and this is in the infographic I have on LinkedIn, and if you enable screen share, I'll share it for you if you want. But basically, in an 8-week plan, I would get to target price. But in week 1, I'm at 50% off. Week 2, I'm 40%. Week 3, I'm at 35, and so forth until we get all the way up to our target price here, right? And so it's fundamental to start at a lower price because it allows you to gain access to faster velocity. And as I've established, you need sales to get sales on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So the fastest way to get sales is to lower your price, and then it makes you more likely to get purchased, right? So if we go on Amazon right now and we just type in, you could pick the item if you want, or I'll just type in kitchen gadget, whatever. And we look on this list and we got some pizza cutters and we've got all kinds of rando silicone. We got Zule Kitchen showing up. By the way, they use the low price strat and sell millions of products on Amazon. They also like to put a keyword right on their main image. I'll point that out too. So if we look on this list and we see all kinds of random products. Now, let's say we're going to narrow this down and we're going to go with stainless steel barbecue tongs. So let's type in barbecue tongs like this. And as we scroll down and we look at all of the barbecue tongs, we notice a few things. One, it's a commodity item. Everybody's looks the same. So how are we going to stand out in this midst? So if we were going to try and sell a barbecue tong, we would only have a few options. One, silicone or no. Two, length. And three, how many? How many tongs? Is it going to be two? Is it going to be a 3-pack as we go down this list? So once you've solved all of those things and try and figure out what we're going to do, at the end of the day, you're going to be looking at probably a 2-pack under $10, something like Gorilla Grip does right here. And then they want to showcase that they've got multiple colors, so they put a little bit of a color palette right there, inviting you to click. You go over there, and if you were going to try and sell barbecue tongs today, by the way, this is the #1 bestseller. Ironic, because it's the one I clicked on, right? And now we're here at $10. Now, if we look at their pricing history, which you can do with a variety of different tools, let's see what they started their price at. So they started their price at $8. Then they went up to 10. Then they went up to 12. And then they rotated their price back down to 9 and went back up to 10, then 10, 50, and then up and down. Here we are all over the place. Today they're at $10. So there's a few things of note. One, don't have static pricing, right? The #1 bestseller is proof of that. Here's the badge, #1 bestseller. Here's the proof. They change their price every couple of months. And two, they followed my very suggestion. They launched at a price that they've never been down to before, right? And we'll sidestep the inflation conversation for a moment, because the point is that you should launch at the lowest price you'll ever sell at. Here's proof. #1 bestseller. Random item, didn't pick it on purpose. But I bet you as we go through data after data point, we'll find similarities to that question. I know you wanted to break down some other stuff, so I'll toss it back to you.
Yeah, so there's quite a few strategies here all at play. So first of all, do not come up with the idea of a Me Too item that everybody else is selling, that you have to differentiate yourself and you have to define who your customer is, and then create your listing accordingly, especially with images. So #1. #2, do not pick an item with the idea that you're going to sell it cheaper than everybody else and make money. The idea is not to have an item that has a real low price point. So pick an item that's going to be a reasonably high price point, and then when you're launching it, offer it at a heavy discount, but never again at that rate, and then increase your price and ultimately settle down. So in other words, do not let the shoppers think that, oh, they always offer some kind of discount, I don't have to buy it today. So when they see that price that is discounted at the rate that they like, they should think that I better grab this now, because these guys don't offer this kind of rate normally. Would that be right? Create that perception.
Yes, but I also don't think most consumers, 80, 90%, let's say, shop by looking at price history, right? So there are many tools out there, Smart Scout, Camel, and Keepa, you could name another dozen, that all track price. I do not believe consumers are tracking price. There's probably some exceptions to that. There's probably that one item, like, for example, I buy a lot of shocks, I think is how it's called. These things you put on your ears like this, and I go around and I listen to audibles, right? Mm-hmm. And I try and get my steps in. I have that on a tracked price. Why? Because I wear out my shocks. I need to buy them once a year, and I know I'm always going to be buying that brand. But if I was shopping for something I need for tomorrow's barbecue, I'm not tracking a price for that, right? I'm just going to buy whatever's lowest price that meets my quality of definition. So consumers don't necessarily by default shop by price comparison against yourself. They compare you against the competitors. So I like to impact that to point out that nobody's going to remember that you were at a lower price before.
Mhm.
And even if you were, they're not going to expect you to go back down. So you don't need to worry about dynamic pricing.
Okay.
But I bet you that that Gorilla Grips item we looked at probably lowers its price every time it loses its bestseller badge, and knows that if it gets that bestseller badge back, that that is worth another 5 points on conversion.
Right. There is one category of products, though, Stephen. Tell me what you think. But that's where the consumers will not necessarily track, but remember the price. Consumables. If they are buying the same
Sure.
item over and over, they say, wait a minute, I usually pay $50 for this. I'm now it's at 38. I better grab it. Right?
Yes, and consumables are most affected by the inflation as well, right? And so every day I log into whether it's any social media platform ever, you see a meme or a post about fast food prices are up 100% in 4 years. Like it's insane. Like where's all the value? Like people are going to see fast food as a luxury item now, which is crazy. That's pretty much the elimination of the middle class, by the way. So we've got rich and poor now purchasing products on Amazon. Sidestepping that though, the consumer is going to remember that price because they can go to their orders, but that's still a lot more work, right? And if they've already purchased from you, they've got you on subscribe and save, I don't think they're going to spend more than a hot minute on that.
Yeah.
Now, but when you're making the acquisition though, I think the acquisition is where price comparison is most impacted, right? And when I'm comparing those toilet papers and I'm like, do I want quilted bears or do I want the scratchy stuff? I think there is some branding at play on certain consumables that can make some headwinds. But overall, I think that the consumer is just going to say, what is the fastest thing I can do to add my cart in 30 seconds and go back to my workday? Oh my gosh, don't have a tissue box on my desk right now. Click purchase, done. I don't think there's a lot of research involved in consumable purchasing. They might spend 30 seconds looking at the search page, ignore the first two ads, and click on the first organic or fourth organic listing. But they're not going to scroll through 3 pages and say, oh, I get my cost per sheet is 2 cents on this tissue and it's 3 cents on that one. I don't think that's going on these days.
Okay. So there is, as far as discounting, there is one other thing that since we are talking about how to use discounting in a smart way, we should cover. So if your price is $39.95 and then you discount it 50% and you price it $19.95, nobody is going to know you've discounted. There is a way to display the discount where Amazon strikes out the standard price and then puts the percent off and then shows your current price. Share with us your suggestion how to leverage that. What are the mechanics of that? Because I believe it's not available to everybody right from the get-go, right?
So for launch strategy, you don't need to worry about this. For let's say post honeymoon period, 3-6 months out, what you're describing is MSRP or list price, but you have to have sold at that price when you lower the price for that to display, and typically sometime in the last 90 days, which is another net benefit reason for not having static pricing, a la change your prices every couple months. So rotating price allows for some more strike throughs, gives you some couponing, promotions, discounts, sales prices, etc. Those are all different mechanisms. But overall, I agree with you, Nick. I'm not a fan of discounting. I am a fan of more sales, and I am a fan of marketing. And I don't think you have to discount to get more sales, but I do believe on launch it's mandatory because nobody's going to buy your $15 pair of tongs on Amazon when I can buy the $9 pair right here with 1,000 or 10,000 reviews. It's just you got no reason, no incentive for me to purchase your product. It'd be like you going to the big box Walmart store and saying, "Hey, carry my product. It's superior over the next guys." They're going to look at their P&L and be like, "Yeah, I'm good." No.
Right. So, and okay, in terms of the format to offer the price, so offer the discount. There are clip coupons, and there are also promotions. So what is the best way to show the world that when you are launching, this is discounted 50%?
You're not showing the consumer it's discounted on the product page, right? You're just showing up with a low price so that when you get that ad click and they're comparing the search results. So like let's walk through this with a screen share. So why don't you pick the product? What product do you want me to search?
Well, let's pick what everybody talks about, garlic crusher, right? The
All
most
right,
famous.
garlic crusher it is. Okay, so we get hit with a sponsored brand video ad up the top. Most people ignore that. Maybe some curiosity clicks. Then we get to the ads and we see items ranging from $9 all the way up to 30, and that's just the ads right there. Zule Kitchen has got organic slot number 1. And if we look at their pricing history, it's going to impact exactly what I'm talking about. So let's go over to their item. And we'll prove by showing that they lowered their price for years at a low price, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, most likely. Okay, so they launched at $7.45 and today are at $13. Right? But they rotate their price between 13 and 9. You can see like every 15 to 30 days, they seem to rotate it back and forth. They do have their list price showing up, and you can see the strike through list price of $30. However, they've never actually sold at $30 according to the Helium 10 chart here. So it's curious to see how they were able to get the list price to show the negative 70%. They've definitely gamed that one, I can tell you right now. They probably have one dude every month that buys it at $30 just to get the strike through to stay. It would be my best guess. But 23,000 reviews, right? 10,000 sold a month. They're dominating. They're number 1. So if we go back to the search result, you can't dethrone that. That is the monster. So how would you get your garlic press to sell when we look at everything else we see? Well, if we go to the next slot right here, they're selling it at $7, right? As we scroll down, $7. Price would be the only thing you could compare these products on. So if we go back up to the product that was at Zule Kitchen at 9, and then we were cross comparing that to the $7 item, there's probably almost no difference between these two products. If we compare and contrast them, looks like they're throwing in a little bit of a duster. I don't know what that black thing is on the left. Maybe you know. But here it's the same steel, it's the same item, it's probably made by the same manufacturer. I mean, you just scrolling back and forth between these two products, it's a near identical product. Zule Kitchen's adding a couple bonuses in. They've got lots of different colors, right? They have a loss leader, right? So they have one color where they go super low, and then they have everything else at $20. Right? That's another interesting play that a lot of people do. Right? Whereas these guys do the same thing, $7 on a loss leader, but you want that gold color, it's 10. You want that black color or that antique copper, it's $12.50. Rose gold, ooh, that one's $13.50. Right? And so people are all doing the same strategy. Low price, single SKU, push and rank, get them to the page. Hopefully they buy a secondary color and you make a bigger profit.
How do you like the clip coupons? Because clip coupons are displayed on the search results page. So setting your price at whatever the price you want to set at regularly, and then issuing a clip coupon for a heavy discount. What do you think about that for launch?
I think it's unnecessary. And as we scroll down here, we don't see a single coupon. Like we've gone through 40, 50 listings, not a single coupon displaying on the front page. Here we go. Here's the first one right there. And it's only 5%. Like, who cares? So it's not that impactful. Also, Amazon's recently disabled the ability to keep a coupon in perpetuity, right? So sure, when Prime Day shows up, throw your 20% off coupon, call it a day, no problem, or do a Prime exclusive discount. All those things are doable. But in reality, I think the consumer is just going to look at the regular price and make the decision purely based on that. They're not going to do the math in their head and compare against the coupon for a commodity type item. Now, if you're trying to move the needle and sell something that's newer to market, Can you throw on a coupon, or can you change things up? Yes, a lot of people forget to actually execute the coupon, but it's pricier to do a coupon, right? Like, especially on an under $10 item like this, it costs
Right.
what does it cost? Like 80 cents a coupon clip or something crazy. So you don't have to have a coupon. Just lower the price. Keep it simple, right? And then when you raise your price and you follow this maxim here, and going up 5% a week, the math checks out. It allows you to get where you want to go. And you want to go for that number one new release badge, because that's when you become a killer.
Mhm. I have a question for my listeners. Are you experiencing cash flow challenges with your Amazon business? Well, silly question. Who is not, right? So let me introduce you to Viably, a unique solution tailored for Amazon sellers and e-commerce enterprises. By connecting your Seller Central or Shopify account, you can promptly access funding along with a variety of financial tools, all for a flat fee. It's as simple as that. And for my listeners, they are offering an extra $1,500 in funding for eligible applications. Start your quick and easy application today at runviably.com/legends. And that's runviably.com/legends. So there is the other thing to consider. So what your suggestion is, don't worry about coupons or promotions, codes, or anything like that. Just lower the price, show the price simple, and try to convert as much as possible. And then you can increase the price. How do you then deal with Amazon's algorithms where you will lose the buy box if you increase the price too much? So what is your best recommendation to go about increasing your price?
Well, if you follow that stepping pattern, you're not going to have a challenge, because if you go, marginal changes won't affect the buy box, right? Unless Amazon's playing super mean, or they've locked it at a certain price, which has happened from time to time. But overall, if you just go 5 or 10% over a 7-day period, you're not going to have a buy box issue.
Okay, 5 or 10% over 7-day period. Okay. The next question here is on FBA versus FBM. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but as you know, there are a lot of companies that say, we want to do our own fulfillment and we don't want to have to pay fees or storage, and plus having inventory at another location brings another complexity to your entire management. So what is your take on FBA versus FBM?
Well, this one's a non-starter, right? If you don't have Prime, you're giving up 66% of your sales. And simply put, Amazon's FBA fees are pretty competitive, right? Like, you can ship out a small handheld item for $4, right? It's very competitive, right? On your website, when you're trying to negotiate your FedEx or UPS deals, you can't beat what Amazon FBA is doing, even when factoring in storage costs and shipping to and from Amazon. Now, you could make an argument that you're going to have higher returns with FBA, and that's true, probably twice, maybe even 3 times as high on return rates. The difference being your sales will be 3 times higher as well, right? And so, you have to play the game to do well on Amazon. Now, some people will be like, well, I heard about this SFP program. And to that, I'll say, sure, if you like shipping on the weekends, if you like opening your warehouse on the weekends, yeah, by all means, do SFP. By the way, you have to have a very large geographic area that you're going to hit, and that adds another complexity. Oh, and by the way, your 4 p.m. warehouse pickup, better extend that to 6 or 7 p.m. now, because you got an order that pops in at 2 o'clock, and your cutoff allows that processing, and so all of a sudden you got backed up orders until the last minute. So FBA is super important. Yes, there are some isolated case examples where you don't want to do FBA. Maybe somebody's got 10,000 SKUs. Maybe they do apparel. All kinds of reasons why you may not want to. But if your items are built to move, they're high velocity SKUs, there's no reason not to be FBA.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you, just based on one very recent experience, FBM does not convert as well as FBA, right?
It does
So
not.
when people see Prime and they know that, you mentioned 82% of households have Prime membership. You're talking about 82% of households receiving free shipping overnight, sometimes 1 day delivery. And
Oh
how
my
you gonna
gosh, we're such an impatient nation. Like I couldn't deal with 2-day delivery. Now I need Prime now. That garlic press, I need that in the next 2 hours because I'm going to cook steak during lunch. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to put that in there. Ironically, I have clients where I have one that launched as FBM mainly because the products were classified as dangerous goods and they were
Hazmat.
not in the dangerous goods program. So they couldn't. On the other hand, I have another client, they also are in dangerous goods. They were accepted into FBA,
Yep.
but I, in fact, recommended going fully FBM. You know why? Because dangerous goods, when you ship to Amazon, they are different kind of carriers, and it cannot be your standard Amazon carrier. So as a result, these carriers have to book the delivery and blah blah, and it adds 6 weeks. So if you send an FBA shipment, unlike regular FBA shipments, they get received within a week. They have to wait 6 weeks. So that became a huge burden on inventory that they have to carry and produce and blah blah. So there are isolated situations, as you mentioned, where you may have to do FBM, but also their item is like $700 a piece. So it doesn't matter. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
and something for $700, somebody's going to be willing to wait a couple more days for, right?
Yeah, exactly. But for regular launches that we're talking about, there is no question. There's one more reason, Stephen, I'm going to tell you why you should launch as FBA. When you launch brand new, like I mentioned at the beginning, brand new seller, brand new brand, brand new listing. That means no review, no seller rating, no review, no nothing. So the first thing you need is reviews. How do you get reviews? You have to have sales. Well, without sales,
Back to the
how do
chicken
you
or
get?
egg.
So that's become chicken and egg situation. So the easiest way to penetrate into that review situation is the Vine program. So you pay $200, you get 30 reviews over time, of course.
I
But if
wouldn't
you're not
recommend Vine for
FBA,
most products.
say again.
I would not recommend Vine for most products, right?
Really?
Yeah, let's say you're selling a supplement like this Tudka on my desk, right? Like, how fast do supplements work? Well, nobody really knows. Could be months, right? Could be weeks. Who knows if they even work? Well, if you get it to the Vine reviewer, they open it up. They're supposed to leave that review same day. What are they going to do? Oh, it smells funny. Oh, 4.4 stars. Next, right? And so that's the challenge with Vine. The average review for a Vine review is 4.1. The average organic review is a 4.3, which rounds up to 4.5 stars. And so that's the challenge with Vine, right? You're going to hurt yourself with a couple of Vine reviews potentially out of the gate at 4 stars.
So what do you recommend without Vine? How do
Low
you jumpstart
price
your?
and lots of ads. You do not need reviews. If you get that #1 new release badge, all the better.
I see. This is also something I haven't heard before.
I'm
Favor the
definitely
Vine.
against the industry by and large is like, oh, reviews, they're important, la la la. Let me go do this. And by and large, they adapt fine. But those that have actually used it in mass quantities have seen the data. It's not that great. Would I do it for a giftable item? Probably. Would I do it for a client that asks? Yeah, I will. But I also know that it's going to be a 4-star review average. Like, I don't want 4-star review average Vines showing up on my listing.
Yes, some of those reviewers they're doing this for a living. And also, you get a bunch of them leaving good review, and then you have one that just leaves a 3-star review, and you can't do anything about it.
It
You
hurts.
can't dispute. It's verified purchase, right? And what is it that Amazon calls those reviews? Verified Vine review or something like
Yeah,
that.
Vine review. So they show up with a green badge. People are attracted to it. Right?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
trust these Vine reviewers with my product. I'd rather trust a random stranger.
So your formula is low price, a lot of ads, and try to bring in as many orders as possible, so that way they're going to translate into reviews. That's the strategy.
Correct. You need orders to get reviews. Go get the orders, right? And the nice thing about that is it leads to more orders because you need orders to get orders as well. So instead of focusing your time and attention on trying to get reviews, you just focus on the basics. Go get traffic, improve the conversion, get sales. And literally, like, by eliminating all of these distractions, you will do better as a company. You will do better as a brand, which is why I was able to scale an agency to 535 people and manage 400 brands. Because when we do the basics and ignore all these shiny objects, it just scales. It's like the McDonald's franchise model, right? Like you dumb it down, because if you don't, somebody else will. And you got to idiot proof this stuff, make some SOPs and make it clear cut on like how to follow this, what step to do, ABC, traffic, conversion, sale, done. And it makes it easy.
One more thing, Stephen, I want to cover with you. At the beginning, you said this is the formula, and we covered already the product selection part, and where you're going to hone in on your target audience and create the customer avatar, and then make sure the pricing is right, and then you launch at low price, and then do not make your price static. Increase it over time, incrementally, but do not make it static. And now for the reviews, don't worry about it. Just run as many ads as possible and try to get orders. Now I want to discuss the PPC campaigns. So the PPC campaigns, tell us about launching without PPC campaign. What's the impact? Any alternatives? Give us your thoughts, but factor into that also the impact of an interrupted PPC campaign due to payment or whatever the case may be, or out of stock. Obviously, you mentioned, and that means it's immediately off. What is the impact of an interruption in PPC campaign?
Well, it's never go out of stock is the first commandment on Amazon for a reason, right? It takes 2 weeks to recover from an out of stock event minimum. Your ACoS will be higher, your conversion will be lower, your rankings, all of it has to be rebuilt. So avoid that at all costs whenever possible. I'd rather raise my prices and slow down sales than go out of stock. Then there's subscribe and save constraints and all those other challenges. We could factor that one in all day long. But when first launching a product, I recommend putting 80% of your budget into broad match and auto campaigns, and go for some long tail keyword wins. And you're going to be seeing a lot of negations are required in your first couple weeks of the upkeep. That's the downside. But the upside is that you're going to discover a lot of new keywords. You'll then be able to update the title and update the main image and put the keyword on the packaging and figure out like what's going to have the biggest impact. And you'll discover a lot of things. Never negate a good keyword. I can't emphasize this enough. If you have a keyword that's working on broad match or auto, leave it alone. It will continue to produce for you for all time. Yes, you can have an extra exact match campaign, but what you will often find, more often than not, at least 60% of the time, the ACoS will be lower on the auto and broad campaign for that same keyword. And the reason for that is because everybody ran their mouth about exact match campaigns a couple years ago, and everybody sets them up and bids higher on them, and they ignore broad match. And Amazon's like, well, I got this extra inventory over here. I'll serve it to you for cheap because you're doing broad match. And that's where you can win. So it's about putting your dollar for maximum gain. I'll give you an example. I launched a gift box a couple years ago for Mother's Day, and I was able to get $144,000 in sales in 30 days. This was my own product launch. I spent $11,000 on ads. 8,000 of that was on broad match gifts for mom, excuse me. $8,000 gifts for mom, broad match. Guess what happened? 24 hours before Mother's Day, I had the #1 organic slot for gifts for mom because of that PPC campaign. Wow. So broad match, super underrated, and it's super easy to set up.
And what do you think about those broad match modifiers? that they recommend?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of advanced techniques. I was trying to keep it on the basic based on the protocol you gave me, but yes, you can do day parting where you bid up certain times a day. Yes, you can do bid modifiers and show up at the top of search. All of these things are possible, but a lot of the sexiness of some of those techniques wear off after a year. Why? Because everybody starts doing it and then overbidding and over indexing on those techniques, and so they work less. Right. So if you just want to keep things basic and easy and just do broad match and auto and set up, you'll be super surprised how easy basics scale.
Yeah. And let's also quickly touch on interruption in PPC campaign due to funding issues, because this happens quite a bit for new sellers. So as a new seller, typically, Amazon will ask you to have a credit card on file.
Yep.
And since you don't have any sales yet, you will have more expenses, especially with your advertising. So you have two ways to pay for your advertising. One is you charge it to your seller account, which comes off of your sales, or you pay by credit card. So if you conveniently say, okay, I'm just going to let it, get deducted from my sales, but you don't have enough sales, Amazon will attempt to charge your credit card. And if that credit card is declined, the campaign will stop, right?
If that happens to you, you are not paying attention. And that is when you need to bring in the experts, because you don't want to be out of stock. You don't want to stop advertising, because any of these things will greatly impact your launch.
Yeah. And what happens if your PPC is impacted? So you mentioned it takes a couple of weeks for out of stock.
Yeah, it's the same reason why when you buy an Amazon account, you don't want to transfer to a second Amazon account, because all that history on the PPC is data that the algorithm uses to help your sales. So it's important to keep that intact.
Yeah, you just mentioned something that I always tell people. I say, what is the most valuable thing about your Amazon account? And they say sales, my profits. I say my listings. I say, no, it's your PPC history, right? You can't replicate that.
Yeah, at least 2 weeks to recreate anywhere close, and it could take months for it to be equal.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you have so many things that you mentioned that are directly actionable for launches and then also going forward. But one thing that you mentioned that I want to repeat because it's so valuable. Put your favorite keywords, the most converting keywords in your pictures. So give us a
Yes.
little bit more, because Amazon does not allow text in main picture. But there are ways to some kind of appearance of it. So tell us a little bit more, because it's such a valuable tip.
So I'm going to demo this. So, and by the way, for your viewers, if you want to get one of these main images, 50% off, promo code CTR, go to myamazonguy.com/IMG. This is my favorite of all time example. These two right here is the cookie baking sheets. On the left, you have a commodity item sold by a Chinese seller selling you pants. On the right, you're selling grandma's cookies. Which of the two would you rather buy? Which of the two would you rather click on? You can smell the difference between the two of them here. So, and this doesn't even require packaging. It's just a fake Photoshop label. Consumers will never ask you about this. I've never received a complaint. We've done this on thousands of items. I do take a little heat on social media about people thinking this is against TNC. But if you go to Amazon, you will find all of the major players do it. Zule Kitchen, one of the ones we looked at today, does it. Crest, Colgate, Dawn, all of these big brands do it. Here's my next favorite example, Happy Me Journal. I did this as a favor for a friend a couple years ago. This tripled his sales. We didn't touch his ads. He didn't even have A+ content. I don't even think he had a brand store at this point. We just switched his main image. We added the kids age 6 to 12 and called it a constitutional kids journal, and we showed inside of it. Seems like subtle changes, but I'm here to tell you it made a 3x sales difference, not just a 3x CTR difference, but a 3x sales difference. So if you add a keyword to the main image and tell the consumer what to do, how to use it, or add an ingredient or an outcome of the product, right? It's going to sell your products. When CTR goes up, click-through rate, your conversion goes up. When your CTR goes up, you get more traffic. You pay less for ads. Amazon will charge you less for ads. That's kind of a big deal.
Right, exactly. I mean, your click-through rate goes up. That means that Amazon algorithm thinks that what you are advertising is relevant to what people are searching, and therefore they're going to give you more click-throughs, and I should say more traffic. And if your click-through rate is already good, you're going to get more traffic. It's the what they call the brand impression share. So let's imagine there are 1 million potential clicks for the keyword that you are advertising. Amazon is not going to give you all million, no matter how much you pay. They're going to give you a tiny percentage of it. But over time, they will slowly increase that percentage that they will drive to you based on how your listing is performing. And it starts with getting more people to click through your listing and then look at it. And if you increase click-through, you're going to increase the size of the pie of that traffic. And of course, the bigger the pie, the more traffic, and the more traffic, more orders. And it just goes from there. I always say this, there are two numbers that you can consider magic bullets for success on Amazon. One is click-through rate. The other is conversion rate. So increase your click-through, you're going to get more traffic. Increase your conversion, you're going to get more orders.
And the click-through rate is so much easier. So start there, because
Right.
fixing your main image might only take you a couple hours. Run a couple of A/B tests or whatnot.
Exactly.
Conversion could take you months to crack and run A/B tests.
Exactly. Such a great conversation, and I'm glad we were able to cover it. So now I want to talk about you a little bit. So we talked enough Amazon, and I want the world to know Stephen Pope, who Stephen Pope is. So I know you are a driven person. Tell us where you grew up and how you got to be. I mean, I'm not talking about your resume. I'm talking about you growing up as a kid. How does Stephen the kid grow up to be such a driven person? What's driving you?
Well, I mean, back in school, I dabbled in everything. I was on the yearbook club. I was in the debate club. I was the chess club president. I was involved in sports and did everything I possibly could academically, soup to nuts. I love to compete. I love to win. I was on scholarship for debate at the collegiate level. I beat Harvard's B team at a national tournament. It's probably one of my biggest wins. Beat them on a cheap shot, by the way. They forgot to read their plan text that I borrowed right before the round. So there are chances and opportunities to win and to do so at high levels, and I seek to do that every chance I get. So I've just had a life of pushing through, going through brick walls one after another, being told I can't do something and saying, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway. Elon Musk style, if you will. And it's been a very fulfilling life for me, to be able to troubleshoot and solve problems, play chess. I taught chess lessons to make most of my income as a teenager. I taught in over 50 elementary schools in Utah. And strategically speaking, just knowing how to think ahead dozens of moves deep, and to take the time to strategize and control the center of the board and move your pieces and develop them out into the world. And now I've got 5 kids and a business, and those are my kids and chess pieces now. And so I'm like, yeah, go out into the world. Let's see how you guys do. So I'm a driven person because I want to build something that outlives me. And like not just like 1 or 2 generations, but like 10 generations, something that will outlive me indefinitely if possible. So that's the mission I'm on.
Why do you feel that as a kid you became so competitive? Was it in the family? Were your parents entrepreneurs or athletes, or where did that come from?
My father has the high drive in the family. But like my brothers, we didn't really have any rivalry or anything like that. My mom was a perfectionist, so she wanted us to do good in school, but I got straight A's, so she didn't really push me that much. And my father was a weatherman who ran track in college, but that's about it. So I think it's because, you know, I was a super introvert. I didn't necessarily get the social accolades that a teenager normally seeks and prioritizes. And so I was seeking something that would propel me in life. I was like, high school is a waste of time. What am I doing here? This is stupid. Why are people spending 4 years, you know, wasting away here? And then I go to college and I felt the same way. And I'm like, this is stupid again. Like I don't drink. I don't want to party. I want to get to business. I want to move forward. I want to build my career. And so I think a lot of people are like me. They struggle to get through some of these social norms that people have to do. The nice thing about Amazon is it accelerates the possibilities, right? If Amazon had existed like it does today when I was in college, I think I might have dropped out of college and went all in on it. Right. I'm not telling anybody to do that, to be clear. I probably would have done it. So
Yeah. So, I mean, like, for example, when I was growing up as a kid, I just wanted to leave home, be independent, live on my own. And that was my driver. So, in your case, why did you, as a kid, is it being introvert something to do with it that you wanted to um put your energy into things on your own rather than through interaction? Or what was the drive?
Absolutely. I would always get let down by teammates who wouldn't see the world the same way as me. And so I made a terrible partner. I would be like my way or the highway. And I had to learn over time how to be collaborative and you know, build up partnerships and stuff like that. I felt like I got to the answer faster. I felt like I knew how to cut through the drab and just get to the heart of like, here's what makes movement. Right. And I had the agility and the speed to make it happen. As one small example, I was in high school. We had a candle fundraiser for choir trip. The second we had the ability to go out and sell, I went that same day and I hit the whole neighborhood. Well, 2 or 3 days later, when all the other teams are trying to hit the neighborhood, I already freaking sold every single person already. What now? $1,500 later, I've got the entire neighborhood sold candles, right? And I've paid for my choir trip and extra cash on the side. To me, it's like, okay, why wait? Go, focus, drive, win, right? The equation was simple to me. So that's been my whole life. You know, I made this agency in under 48 hours, right? Like I got laid off. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start an agency, right? Didn't have to think about it. The vision I set out in those first 48 hours, still intact today, right? It was just obvious to me.
Well, I mean, you know how it is. It's obvious to you. A lot of people can't see it. So that's the beauty of it.
So that's also the curse, right? So now let's say I am a prophet and I can see all this stuff. I'm not, but let's say I was. Then the challenge becomes, how do I get other people to see it?
right,
And that's
right.
where I have to spend the time, and that's where the curse comes in.
And you know what else happens, Stephen? When they don't, you get frustrated, and then it becomes a situation where people say to you, well, he's hard to work with because his
Yes. Oh,
expectations are so high.
I guarantee you that. I guarantee you, if you talk to my old bosses, they'd be like, I had no idea how to manage that guy. I guarantee if you talk to my old peers, yeah, that dude was an asshole. Guarantee they felt that way. I had to build MAG around me, right? I had to build it around my own deficiencies, right? And I'm very sure of myself. That's a true statement. But it comes with drawbacks, right? I don't create partnerships in the Amazon space because of it, right? Like I just build everything internally and I hire people and I pay them to do it the way I like to see it. And it magically works and it springs forth a reservoir of opportunities the way I like to see it. Right. So I'm a sole owner of MAG. I don't have any equity partners. I never took funding. I'm the largest independent Amazon agency in the world because of it. And that's exactly what I set out to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, it's true. It's much harder to do it the way you're doing it, but in the long run, it's much better. It's one of those things that you're gonna have to know exactly this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, and anybody else gets in the way and they say, oh, you know, but why you should compromise? You know what? You don't compromise on your dreams, on your vision, and you just have to execute, right?
Correct. But then it creates a why and you show up to want to win. So depending on your goals, the actions dictate themselves.
Exactly. Well, that's great conversation. We can get into all this inspirational stuff, but we don't have the time. So tell us, Stephen, how can people reach you? I know you are very active on LinkedIn, but give us the best way to contact you, and also my Amazon guy. Tell us the best way to connect.
Amazon brands that want to hire my Amazon guy, go to myamazonguy.com. If you just want to learn, you want to engage, YouTube and LinkedIn are the best places. And by the way, we hire people with no Amazon experience. You can get an internship with us, myamazonguy.com/internship. And we're very fast on our hiring process. So you'll get a fast no or a fast yes. A fast no is always better than a slow no, by the way. All right, Nick, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Before I go, a quick reminder to say goodbye to your cash flow problems and claim your extra $1,500 when you qualify for $25,000 or more in funding. Go to www.runviably.com/legends and start your application today. Thank you, Stephen. And this brings us to the end of another episode. And I'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the episode, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too.